Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Lewandowski. I'm the library consultant for small business development and technology at the New Jersey State Library. Welcome to the June 14th, 2022 LibsWork meeting. I think we have some new faces, which is awesome, or at least I'm bad with names and faces, so I would like you to introduce yourselves again. So if we don't mind going around, if you could just share what library you're with, what your role is, and if there's anything that you're hoping to learn from this group or something that brought you in here, you can share that as well. And then I'll just ask you, after you introduce yourself, if you could call on somebody, and then hopefully we can get through everyone pretty quickly so that Brandey can start presenting about the project that she's working on at Mid-Continent. So I already introduced myself. I'll just say that the State Library has been working with job seekers and workforce development for several years. And more recently, we're now doing a couple projects around digital literacy, which have an overlap with adult basic education and with workforce development. So mostly interested in learning more about those areas, but mostly just really excited to hear what everyone else is doing and what ideas maybe we can bring back to New Jersey. Brandey, I'll call on you next.
Awesome, thank you, Andrea. So I'm with Mid-Continent Public Library in the Kansas City metro area, which is Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas, although our system does not cover Kansas. I'm the community workforce specialist, which is housed in the Square One small business team. We're trying to transition that to being called more economic opportunity to kind of encompass more about what we do with job seekers and workforce development. And I will talk to you guys a little bit more this afternoon, but I am very, very interested in knowing what kind of digital literacy programs you guys have, because that's something that we kind of need to wrap our arms around too. And let's call on Laurie.
Thanks, Brandey. My name is Laurie Moore. I am the Workforce Development Librarian at Multnomah County Library in Portland, Oregon. It's a fairly new position for me. I've been a librarian for a long time, but looking at this specifically for about the last year and a half. So always glad to connect to this group. I haven't been here for a while, so I think today sounds really interesting. My library does have specific digital literacy programs that are run by other folks in the system, but that overlap a lot with the work I'm doing. So I work closely with them. So we're lucky to have a few folks that their full-time job is focusing on that. So I will also be interested in hearing more about what other folks are doing. And let's see, I will pass it to Arlene.
Thanks, Laurie. Hi, I'm Arlene Weibel. I am also from Oregon at the State Library in Salem, Oregon. And what I do at the State Library is help support folks like Laurie and other libraries across the state, hoping to provide just information and support around workforce development activities, and also very much getting into digital literacy as well. So just really looking forward to hearing more about what's going on, in other states, and trying to glean all the information we can to provide support for libraries here. So I guess I'll go to Hillary next.
Thank you, Arlene. My name's Hillary Ritt, and I'm the Workforce and Adult Services Consultant with the State Library in Kentucky. And so I work to do very much what Arlene's talking about, support public libraries in the state and their workforce efforts. And I'm already looking forward to 2023 statewide job fair event in Kentucky. We had one in 2022. We partnered with Lexington Public Library, one of our public libraries, and we're looking forward to doing that again. And I continue to learn so much and look forward to learning from you all today. So I will pass it on to Elizabeth.
Thanks. I'm Elizabeth Yokia, now with the Seattle Public Library as the Workforce Development and Adult Basic Education Program Manager. Which apparently means I manage a program, but nobody actually works for me. So not much different than what I was doing at the State Library, but yeah, just what's the date? just about a month into it, and I'm feeling really good about it. It's going to be awesome. But definitely getting up to speed on stuff like ESL and citizenship and things like that, existing services that the library already offers, which are all virtual right now. We, of course, are North Star users, and just really early stages trying to kind of get together the group of folks that's at the library that's working on different digital equity efforts and kind of see what we're doing, what the city's doing, and what still, kind of remains to be done to get our act together. So fun stuff. I will pass to, let's see here, Rosalind.
Hi, everybody. I have actually followed this group for a long time, but I have had a standing meeting on the second Tuesday, so I haven't been able to attend in person. Anyway, I just started a new job. I am with the Jackson County Library District in Southern Oregon, so Oregon represent. But this is only my second week on the job, and so I'm still getting to know the Rogue Valley and the local ecosystem, but I'm really excited to be able to participate in this meeting every month now, because workforce development is a big part of my job here at Jackson County. And let's see, I will pick on David next.
Hey, good afternoon. I'm David Sniffen. I'm the program manager for workforce development for the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. We have a pretty robust DigiLit program for people, so I'll share that in the chat. We kind of have a good realization that you can't be successful in the workplace without digital skills and actually literacy skills. So that's something we're focused on for the future, definitely. So I'll pass along to Hillary.
I've already been. I'll choose Africa.
Sorry, I'll go with my colleague, DeBruce.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is DeBruce Fox, and I am currently an interim library branch manager at the Sugar Creek Library for Charlotte Mecklenburg Library. Prior to that, I worked in a job help center at the main library of Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, where I am passionate about workforce development, and I just want to keep my hand on the pulse of what's going on with workforce development. Sorry, Emily.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Goodman. I work for the Rhode Island Office of Library and Information Services, and I'm the Adult Services Coordinator, so very similar to what Andrea and Hillary and Arlene all do, but for Rhode Island. But I don't focus in workforce development. It's just an area that we are looking to explore and expand on. It's hard to work with all of the people that work in Rhode Island with workforce development because they're changing all the time, but we're trying to get our finger on the pulse. But we are working on a pretty good digital literacy program with our Providence Public Library, and they're sort of piloting with other libraries throughout the state to offer digital literacy in a pretty robust way here in Rhode Island. So we're pretty excited about that. We're using ARPA funds to manage that. And so hopefully we're going to find some other funds to continue that work. But we're really excited about that. And I'm here to kind of hear what you all are doing on the day-to-day. And I will pass it to Carlos.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Business Information Specialist for Cecil County Public Library Systems. Just basically here to gain as much information as we can, looking to just benefit the county in all ways possible. Natalie, have you gone?
No. Thank you, Carlos. I'm Natalie Rupert. I am the manager of the Career and Job Services Division for the Kenton County Public Library in Northern Kentucky. We've been involved in workforce for 12 years now and have a very robust program. We offer over 50 classes in workforce every month, ranging from digital literacy and GED classes to all kinds of professional level classes. We have a job search support group for professionals in transition, lots of good things like that. So looking forward to seeing this group grow now. Thanks. Lisa Shaw.
Hi, sorry I'm coming in late. Been one of those days. I'm Lisa Shaw. I'm the Small Rural Libraries and Workforce Development Specialist with Library Development with the Maine State Library. Our big thing that we're working on here right now is launching Bendable Maine, which is built off the South Bend, Indiana Bendable model. Put a link in there. Working across agencies with adult ed, higher ed, labor department, education department, corrections, anybody else that wants to come join the party, and getting wide learning and hopefully a path to micro-credentialing out to anybody who's interested in the state and who has not gone yet.
Africa and Sarah. So Africa, if you don't mind going next.
Hi, good to be with you all. This meeting has been on my calendar for months, and so I'm glad to finally make a meeting and learn about the work that you're doing. My name's Africa Hands. I'm a professor in the graduate library program at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. And part of the research that I'm doing concerns how libraries are serving the college-bound patrons in their communities. And I think there are some connections with workforce development, and I'm interested in how higher education is playing into the workforce development work that you all are doing.
Thank you so much. Would probably love to hear some of your research at some point as a future presentation. So we'll keep that in mind. And then we have a few people who introduced themselves in chat. So Leanne is from the Flandreau. I hope I said that right. Oh, that's your last name, Flandreau. From Fort Vancouver Regional Libraries in Southwest Washington State near Portland. They're currently working on getting ready for teen interns in the library this summer as part of a teen workforce development partnership. That sounds awesome. We talk a lot about providing the skills for jobs, but those job experiences are so important too. Lori Hench from Baltimore County Public Library is the adult and community engagement librarian, just here to listen and learn. And Sarah Dorr from Anne Arundel County Public Library in Maryland. She works on a work computer. Oh, that's why you don't have a microphone. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining us. And we did that pretty quickly. So it sounds like maybe we can talk a little bit more about digital literacy after Brandey's presentation, if we want to cover a little bit more about what we're all working on. Already there's a lot of excellent links in the chat, so make sure that that goes around after the meeting as well, so that you'll have those. And without further adu, Brandey, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. So I was on this meeting 2 months ago, and one of my colleagues here in town at the Johnson County Library in Kansas mentioned that we have this Agilities Assessment here in the Kansas City area and thought that maybe I should present. So here we are. And honestly, this is a really good thing to put in your arsenal when you're working with people on an individual basis. I don't know how many of you are doing career services one-on-one. That is the bulk of my job, is helping people with their resumes, helping people design job searches to figure out what they might want to transition into. I've already started receiving lots of emails from teachers who are done and want to do something different. So that is another way that we can use this tool. Can I share my screen, Andrea? It looks like I can. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and pull up my presentation. Are you guys seeing that?
Yep.
Excellent.
Perfect.
All right. So here in Kansas City, we have an organization called the DeBruce Foundation, and I'm not exactly sure who DeBruce is, let me be honest. I know he made a bunch of money in pharmaceuticals, and now he wants to spend his money expanding pathways for people to be able to have more options to make money. This is the Agile Work Profiler. You will hear me say Agilities. When I say that, I tend to mean the Agile Work Profiler. This is an online assessment It is very similar in format to the ONET assessment, the RIASEC, where it'll tell you, realistic. I can't remember what they all are, but those assessments that we've always seen when we do work with people who are doing career searches. This one is a little bit different, and I accidentally clicked the wrong way. It is research-based and tested. It's free to the public, so you don't have to sign up for any memberships to access this, and I will provide you with a link to it. It's pretty simple. It's just agilities.org, and that gets you there. The idea is that all jobs that have existed ever and all things that you do in life are basically made up of the same 10 activities. Work activities that are the same regardless. Those are developing others, innovating, inspecting, judging and estimating, managing, operating objects, organizing, selling and communicating, serving and caring, and working with information. I just realized that I was reading them to you as they were on the screen, which is why I raced through that. So the point of the agilities is the assessment will tell you what you're currently good at, as well as take into account what you like doing. And those can change and be developed over time. So one of the things that's important to remember when people have done this assessment is to say, this is just where you are right now. It can change based on experiences that you have. It can change based on your mood, but it just gives you a general idea of what you're interested in, what you're good at, and what you actually like. And we'll go through some of these examples. So developing others is basically seeing what people have in them and coaching. It's kind of teaching, coaching. Innovating is creating new ideas and new ways to solve problems. Inspecting is kind of like auditing, making sure people are following the rules, making sure there are rules to be followed. A lot of them are actually relatively self-explanatory. Judging and estimating is, you go to Target to buy clothes for your kid and you say, oh, it's summer now, but the winter clothes are on sale. What size might they wear in the winter? That's judging and estimating. So that's not a work activity, but it does involve that skill. Operating objects tends to be hands-on types of things. Serving, working with information, those are the top agilities. And just based on the titles, sometimes people predict one and they know themselves very, very well. And they can say, oh, I know what my top agility is going to be. And sometimes people choose absolutely abysmally, and they just have no idea until they take the quiz. So we do have an opportunity to take the quiz. I don't necessarily want to take up that much time on the call, but there is an opportunity to take it. So I gave this presentation last week to a cohort of parents who all have children in Head Start. Some of them have lots of work experience and some of them have very little work experience. So what we did was we took the example of planning a family gathering at a pavilion. We said, okay, these are things that a lot of people have had experience doing or at least have attended. So we can get an example of what the agilities might be like without necessarily limiting ourselves to work activities. So just so we can make this a little bit more interactive, how would you guess that you can use these agilities in the task of planning a family gathering at a park pavilion? And go ahead and shout them out, and I'll click on them if they are, when you shout them out. And I'll start with an example. How about that? So my favorite example for selling and communicating is convincing cousins who don't get along to just come to the reunion. That's selling and communicating for a family picnic. Anybody else got any other suggestions of what some of the agilities might be?
I think of inspecting as like going to check out the pavilion and planning what you're going to do, where you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's a good one to check it out in advance. I accidentally went back too far. My example was making sure that nobody breaks park rules, like cousins keep their alcohol in the car when they're not supposed to bring it in the park. That was my example, but
organizing is certainly important because you don't want everybody to bring dessert. You need somebody to bring the mac and cheese.
Yes. Yes. Somebody bring the mac and cheese. I actually have that under managing, like deciding who brings what. Nobody wants your mac and cheese, but telling them in a nice way and asking them to bring paper plates, maybe. That's a sensitive conversation. That's management material, right? To be able to have that conversation.
Under innovating, I'm thinking, think of new activities, new games that you all could play.
Yep. Who was that? That was exactly what I was thinking.
Africa.
Yeah, designing the t-shirt logo, coming up with new activities. What else?
Giving somebody else in the family a chance to organize a subset of something, whether it's, you're in charge of desserts or cornhole or whatever, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's giving somebody else an opportunity. That's textbook developing others. That's perfect. Oh, is there stuff in the chat? I can't see it. Oh, there. Oh, yes. All you guys are answering questions in the chat, and I went full screen and didn't see it. Excellent.
Yeah, judging and estimating how much food is in there. That's what I was thinking as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We've got, and then we'll just go ahead and breeze through the rest of these. Operating objects could be running the grill, setting up games, figuring out how to untangle the volleyball net. We get serving and carrying, and then working with information is keeping track of everybody's contact info. I don't know about you guys, but I have cousins who change their phone numbers all the time. So that's something that somebody's got to do, right? So this is, it's fun to think about the agilities, but just for 1 second, let's think about why we need to know this. Can anybody give a guess as to what percentage of youth who consider 2 or fewer careers before graduating school? If you're typing in the chat, I can't see it. Let me pull the chat up. Okay, yep. 50, 80. Come on. There we go. 67%. You guys actually had really good guesses. Oh, okay, Leanne with the 65. You got it almost exactly. Yeah, 67% of youth consider 2 or fewer careers. And we don't even know when they considered those careers. Maybe that was, I want to be a firefighter since kindergarten. We just don't know. And that leaves a lot to chance, which also leads to people not knowing what they want to do, not having quite a bit of direction. This is interesting information for the college students and for the teenagers to have, is that one of the main reasons that people drop out of school, I cannot click past this little screen. Come on. There we go. Lack of direction is one of the main reasons for dropping out of school. And if you can have a little bit of direction before you go into school, have an idea what careers are out there, what you might actually like, what you might actually be good at, then it gives you a little bit more direction. This is the break where you can take the Agile Work Profiler. I am going to, can I copy? I can't copy it and put it in the chat because I went full screen. There's a video that plays after you take the agilities. It's pretty cute. I don't know if we necessarily need to. Does anybody want to see the video? It's 50 seconds long.
I mean, I got 50 seconds. I've actually, so I don't know if I have the right website up. I've got the DeBruce Foundation one, agilities.org. Is that?
That's it.
Okay.
Yes,
yep.
That's it. All right, I'll just go ahead and play it. Can you guys hear as well?
Congratulations, you're agile.
You're agile.
You're agile.
Thank you for taking the time to invest in yourself.
You may be wondering, what's an agility? An agility is a combination of your strengths and interests and how they line up with careers. The DeBruce Foundation discovered that these agilities are part of every job. Different jobs may require some agilities or work skills more than others.
You have the power to build your agility, to be more confident, to handle any challenge you face,
including planning for your future. What about right now? So let's go.
Let's get to know your agilities better. Go to agilities.org and learn more.
We'll tell you there's more of an exciting video after you've just found out what your top agility is. a little more exciting. Oh, no. You guys, I thought I was good at this. Okay. And then we like to ask people if their prediction was correct, and kind of talk about what some of your options are with the agility that you discovered was your top agility. Can we talk about your top 3? And then we go down to the bottom ones and talk about what your bottom agilities were and what you can do to improve those if the jobs that you're interested in or the job that you're in at the moment needs you to have those skills. So what this does for me as I'm working with people interactively, helping them do their job searches and things, is it gives them work language to put their skills into. So it helps with resume building. It makes it a lot easier. There's actually, if you go to the site, there's actually phrases that are based on the agilities that you have that you can use in your resume or that you can use as a lens to look through your jobs to say, okay, you're right, I have done this. And it really does help to frame your skills and experiences in your resume. It helps in interviews. Somebody last week just told me she did the interview, or she did the Agilities Assessment, and then she did an interview the next day. Just coincidentally, she had one, and she said it was the best she had ever interviewed. They offered her the job. So it actually really does help give people confidence to speak about themselves and their skills. And it lets you see similarities in skills across different experiences. So you can look at, your time management. If you're dropping fries and knowing how long you have before the fries beep and how many sandwiches you can wrap before the fries beep, that time management can transfer into other activities. And having these words helps you see that and helps you say that. So just an example of things that people do on a regular basis. If you go get your nails done, then the person who's doing that is serving and caring as well as operating objects, because everybody can't do that. So that's an agile thing to have that skill to be able to do both of those together. So it gives you your agilities as of right now. They can change over time. It becomes flexible, and they aren't fixed, which is nice to know. After you've done the assessment, it's kind of nice to have a point of reflection to say, you know what, I really didn't think that I was ready to be a manager, but I have grown in this skill. This is something that I can do. Maybe I enjoy it now more than I used to, or maybe I do enjoy being organized more than I used to. And then the differences between this assessment and some of the other ones is that they're based on actual work activities. So no matter what jobs haven't been invented yet, you can still find these work activities embedded in those jobs. This can be taken at multiple times during a person's career, during a person's life, whereas some of those older ones are kind of one time. And it's, yeah, there we go. The outcomes for this one are expanding. So it's, oh, I am good at serving and caring. Here are all the possible things I could do with serving and caring, as opposed to some of the other assessments where it will say, oh, you should be a teacher. And then they try to fit themselves into the box of being a teacher, maybe. So it just kind of gives you more options than restrictions. Each one of the agilities has a video that describes it more in detail and gives examples of work that you could possibly do. Yes, oh, I see that comment in there. It's a nice way to frame seemingly commonplace activities. Yes, and it's a good way to give people words to talk about the skills they actually have. It's almost miraculous to hear people talk about themselves in a way they never have before. It feels really good. It's a fun thing to do. So you have the option after you're done with the Agilities assessment. Each one of the skills comes with an entire sheet that helps you describe yourself for your resume. There is an occupation explorer. If we have time or you guys are interested, we can go back and explore this, but you always have the option to look at the links on your own. And it basically shows you what jobs are available, or what jobs exist rather, that have a certain thing as their top agility. So organizing, you click on organizing and all the jobs that have that top agility will come up. There's also a job decoder. So if someone has a dream job, and this works really well with teenagers, if they say, oh, I want to be a nurse, then you go look up nurse, and then it tells you what the top agilities are for that job and some things that you can do to work on those particular skills. So it's really helpful for people who are considering a few different things and know what they can work on before then. And it's not to necessarily screen people out, but it's just to give you an idea of what you may need to be able to do. So this is where I thought that we could do a little workshop and talk about the agilities in terms of library work and library skills. So you guys, I'm going to stop. No, I'm not going to stop sharing, but I'm going to pull up the chat so I can see it. It is awesome. I agree, Lisa. If you guys want to just throw out some ways that the agilities may be used in library work, it's kind of fun to think about your own job through this lens. So if you have any examples, I would love to hear them.
So one of the things I bang on about, as anybody who's been within earshot of me in the last several years knows, is that we have a lot of young people that are coming up into the air quotes more traditional workforce that have done a lot with social media platforms. Sometimes they've even monetized them. And what agilities they may have already demonstrated in that, whether it's their YouTube channel or their VLive or their TikTok or whatever, that actually has translates over to what a more traditional job description would look like.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And like, let's see, social media, how does mastering social media translate into other jobs? Like working with information, maybe?
You're dealing with trolls, you have to organize your time. You have to understand certain legalities, what will get you demonetized, things like that. Yeah.
Certainly selling and communicating comes into it. I mean, it's all about, trying to get your posts to go viral.
Yeah. And if you have people working for you, which a lot of these YouTubers and kids do, that's developing others. That's
would operating objects cover all the sort of creating videos and editing them and adding cool animations? Would that fall under operating objects?
Yeah, I think probably, especially if there's, if you're setting up camera equipment and figuring out software and all of that. I have to tell you, I don't know what these kids are doing. I know it's hard. I don't do it.
All the lighting and green screen. If you're using a green screen, that's a lot of work.
It is.
And a lot of skill. And I mean, I am happily hiding behind my my blur video. That's about as sophisticated as I get.
Yeah.
And working with analytics, click rate and all of that for working with information. So, yeah. Knowing how people interact with the video and
my kids just introduced me to a term. Someone was ratioed. You heard this? Where the comment got more likes than the original post. That was like, oh, you got ratioed. And that's knowing how to do something with that information. I can look at the number of comments, but I don't know what to do with it. And they do. Yeah. I think, let me make sure that we have everything. Oh yeah, that's the last one. This is where you can follow DeBruce on social if you're interested in knowing more about what they are doing. They are a partner in the Remake Learning Days around town, and they do a lot of work with STEM as well. All of their information is free. It's available to the public. A lot of the wage and salary information is customized to Kansas City. There is a national average, and then there's a Kansas City metro, but the rest of it is applicable everywhere across the country. So I'm going to stop sharing so I can go back to seeing you guys. There we go. Oh, yes. And the quiz is very, very short. Depending on digital skills and how long you take to think about each question, you can get it done in 10 minutes. It's not very long at all.
So I have a question about your presentation. So you said that you've done workshops or you've done this. Who have you done those workshops for?
So the couple of times that I've done them for multiple people, groups at a time, has been that cohort of Head Start parents that was not in the library. That was a community partner reaching out to say, hey, can you do this for this program that we're having? Of course, happy to. I've also done it for a class of, it was an entrepreneurship class in a high school. So they came to the library and they wanted to do some things. So we did that with them. And then I do it lots with one-on-ones. So I'll send people the link before they meet with me. And then we talk about their agilities. If they really have no idea what they want to do, then we can talk about it after they've taken that quiz, and it just kind of gives us a place to guide the discussion. Emily says, can you share a bit about the career exploration tool? I am happy to do a quick demo if you want to see that. Let me pull that up. Oh, I pulled up the bendable main thing so I could read it later. All right, let me go to Agilities and I will share my tab for you. All right, are we there? You can see it? Excellent. Tools and resources. Okay, there's the Career Explorer tools. And then I'm going to go down to, let's go Occupation Explorer. This one is my favorite. So I'm going to say my top agility was innovating. So I'm going to click on that one. And then it tells you in categories. So you see the categories are alphabetical. And as you scroll down, it tells you what these jobs are and what their average wage is. So then you can kind of hover over it and it tells you, there we go. You hover and it tells you what the job is, what kind of education you need to have. So if somebody is scrolling through and they say, oh, I want this job because it pays the most. Well, astronomers need postdoctoral training. How much time do I actually want to spend doing this? Maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't. If you're 17, the answer might be different than if you're 43. I don't know. So let me go unclick innovating. And so now it shows all of them. So these are all of the jobs that it has listed in the system. These come from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So right now they're current. I would assume that they get refreshed every now and then, but I don't know 100% that's going to be the case.
Can you do any sort of filtering with that list by either career type or like job type or industry or anything like that?
Or area. I imagine it would vary a little bit depending on what part of the country you're in.
It would. This one is designed specifically for Kansas City, so it doesn't let you filter by area. Let me go back to, there's another one that does let you filter a little bit more, and that's the job decoder. Oh, where'd it go? There we go, Career Explorer tools. Can you guys still see this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good, I give you a different one. Okay. All right, so the job decoder, this one gives you a chance to filter by category. Oh gosh, no, it's not by category. It's by title. It is. Okay, so this is the one that is, if you have a dream job, let's go look at the dream job. Estimates the cost of education for different careers. I would love for that tool to exist, Elizabeth. Elizabeth says there must be a tool out there that estimates the cost of education for different careers. Maybe it does exist and I don't know about it. If you know about it, please let me know. Okay. So let's say we wanted to pick, chefs and head cooks, because that's where the mouse stopped. So it tells you what the degree requirement might be, what the average wage would be, and what those top agilities are. And then it gives you detailed work activities and tells you what you might actually be doing on a day-to-day basis. And then it gives you alternate titles that you can search for when you're looking for jobs. It's maybe not as relevant for the chef one, but for some of the others, those alternate titles are kind of helpful, because people might not know what some of the options are. So I don't know what an agricultural inspector is. Let's find out. So then if we scroll down after we get to agricultural inspector, we see some of the alternate titles might be shipping point inspector or grain sampler or food product inspector, which gives you more choices when you go to look or when you're doing research. It just gives you more information to work with. Somebody had a question that I did not see. Go back to the chat. Have you tried this tool with adults or mid-career changers? What has been your experience with that? Yeah, so the last time I did this with a person who was an adult, he was transitioning out of food service. He'd been in food service for years and he wanted to do something different, a little bit more career focused. And we did the agilities and he discovered that organizing and working with information were his favorites. And he said, well, that makes sense. I love doing the schedule and I'm really good at that. And so we looked at maybe some bookkeeping and accounting. And he said, well, I don't really know how to work Excel. And I'm like, that's okay. LinkedIn Learning can show you how to work Excel. And so we got him a bunch of classes and I'm looking forward to following up with him to see how he's doing. But that was kind of exciting for him to take the assessment and go, oh, bookkeeping, I never thought about that. Or paralegal, really? Huh, okay. So that was really fun to hear him do that. I can imagine that for some adults or mid-career folks, they might not be as willing to pivot, but the information is always there. That's what libraries do, right? Let's see, very interesting. Thanks. Anytime, Rohini. I don't know if I said that right. I hope I did.
Brandey, is it okay if I ask more about your partnership with the Head Start and how that kind of developed? I think that's a really neat idea to connect with the parents, but then also even maybe graduating up to elementary schools or so forth and talking with them.
Yeah, pure serendipity. The program manager for Mid-America Regional Council is the local I don't even know exactly what you call it, civic organization that's made up of all the mayors of all the little towns around. So there's the county executives and the mayors of all the little suburbs, and they get together and they have a budget. Don't know where this money comes from, honestly, but they do a lot of regional planning. So the transportation planning, things like that happen regionally. And their Head Start manager used to be the manager of the KC Degrees program, which is the program that is a scholarship for adults who have some college but didn't finish. So people who started college, dropped out as adults for whatever reason, there's a scholarship program that helps them get back in to finish. And a few years ago at the branch I worked at, the program manager came and spoke. Then I ran into him socially, and now he's running the Head Start program. And he said, hey, my agilities coach, well, actually what he said was, oh, I'm doing a thing where we need an agilities coach. And I said, oh, I'm an agilities coach. And he goes, oh, my agilities coach dropped out. You want to do it? And I said, okay. So serendipity, it's just community engagement, right? Had I not, as the program associate, reached out and asked him to come do a presentation, he never would have even known that the library was an option to do something like that. But now he does. And now we have a relationship. So yay for running into somebody at the park. Yeah. But hey, I think Head Start's a great idea. Oh, why, thank you, Hillary. Yeah, Head Start might be a cool place for libraries to partner with those parents. Rosalind asked, how did you become an agilities coach? And I'm very glad you asked, because the DeBruce Foundation sponsors training sessions for people who want to be coaches. And they are starting a cohort specifically for librarians because they've had such good success with the local folks who are pretty excited about it. I asked before I got on the call today if they knew when that was going to be, and she said she doesn't know exactly, but when she gets the information, I can give it out to this group. It will be available on a hybrid basis. So you can kind of call in and do it virtually if you're interested in participating that way. They haven't yet done it hybrid before, so it will be an experiment, but I think if you're interested in having it another tool for working with career services folks, workforce development, it would be really, really useful. It's a good way to think about career language, and it has been a godsend for me resume writing. So I really like it for that.
And I love the example that you gave of working with somebody and then having the tie-in to digital literacy. So once identifying the skills that were needed, or, those agilities, and then saying, well, for that technical knowledge, we have other tools, I think is a good conversation starter, because otherwise, he may not have even come into the library and said, I need to learn Excel. Like,
right.
You won't know necessarily what you don't know until somebody can help make that connection.
Yeah, and hopefully that we keep doing that. It kind of drives our database engagement and drives those stats and gets people the information they need in a way that we can prove that they're using it. That's always nice. I see you over there grinning, Arlene.
Well, it is interesting we do hear quite a bit about people are not using the library tools like this. And I do think, it's not, people aren't discovering them on their own with general web searches, because the commercial, versions of these kinds of tools are going to come up more frequently. So it really is upon the library to do pretty aggressive promotion, I think, for some of these things if you really want them to be used.
Agreed. Well, thank you all for listening. I hope that was useful to you. If you have questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. I can also share the integration specialist is her title. She is always happy to answer questions about what DeBruce is doing. So thank you all for listening, and always let me know if you have any questions. You're welcome. Thank you all so much for saying thank you in the chat.
Yeah. And if anything that you share, I'll make sure it goes into the follow-up message that goes out with the recording and everything.
Cool. Thanks, Andrea.
Yeah. Great. Are there any other questions or anything else that anyone would like to discuss? Burning questions? Africa asks, do patrons schedule appointments to work with you?
Yes, we started using Calendly to do that. So people can just pick a time that works, which means that I have to be very intentional about everything that I put on my calendar, including lunch.
All right. Are there any other questions or updates on anything related to this topic or anything else?
I have one, Brandey. Have you guys talked about having specifically career navigators on staff?
I've talked about it. I don't know who's listening yet, but I've talked about it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's, we have consumer technology specialists and we have technology associates in the branches, but they don't, to my knowledge, take appointments with the public. And that is something that we will have to, I don't know, cross-functional team it out to make it happen. I don't know exactly how to make it happen yet, but we're working on it.
Keep an eye on your Workforce Investment Board's grant money. That's how we got ours funded initially. So
you got funds to hire new staff, just hire staff?
Yes. And we did it. We got what was called a dislocated workers grant through our Workforce Investment Board with federal dollars. And they gave us $60,000, which allowed us to hire 3, at the time, we called them career change navigators. And they had to be people per the grant who had lost their job due to COVID. And they had to help people who lost their jobs due to COVID find jobs. Hence, the title initially was a career change navigator. And when they came on board, obviously we interviewed quite a few people, and people that have human resources backgrounds tend to work the best, so to speak. But we interviewed a number of people who had natural interviewing skills, writing skills, things like basic skills that would help. But then we trained them first in all of our library resources that we thought people that were looking for jobs could use, like the various databases and things that we have. And we trained them in basic library skills. So they learn how to check things in and out. We showed them those kinds of things. And that's how they got started. And things worked out so well that when the grant ran out, our director was willing to hire them both. Well, he actually was willing to hire all three of them on board as part of our staff through our regular operating budget. So we did that, and we changed their titles to just straight career navigators, so they really could help anybody that was looking for a job that came into our buildings. And so it's going well. We initially started, we had we started with a link on our website, so that at our public service desks, if one of our staff was working with someone who said they needed help with a resume or whatever, they could schedule an appointment with the career navigator through that link. So we started out that way. So a whole bunch of people, including me as a supervisor, would get that. So we always made sure people were covered. But then after a while, they started to develop reputations. We did flyers, we have posters, we have them on our website. So now people can just go to our website, look at the career navigators, and we have their emails and their phone numbers noted, so people can just call them directly to schedule appointments. So it's worked out very well, and we continue to send them, to classes and do things, and they're also teaching classes for us. So it's just, it takes time, but that's how we got it, was through our Workforce Investment Board.
That is excellent information.
And sometimes when you're just starting out, you can reach out to whoever has, the WIBs, they give out RFPs to various local agencies to maybe handle their career services, their one-stop services. So when you identify who those people are, you can sometimes pay them stipends to come in and do special programs for you. So we started out doing that too with some of them. So they taught for us in the evenings and on weekends when our career center wasn't opened. And then we had a couple of them retire, and then they became volunteer career coaches for us. So I have 10 volunteer career coaches that help. So that makes a difference too.
Is that for the entire state, Natalie, or what's your?
No, we're just one library system. So Hillary's working on all this for us.
I'm so jealous. That sounds awesome.
But we're in a unique situation because Northern Kentucky is a fairly homogeneous area, and the people have got on board in our various workforce partners. We've had some excellent senior leaders who brought people together to talk about all of our needs. So we have a lot of committees that people work together. And the one nice thing is we've had a lot of people leave their egos at the door to try and help each other. And we as a public library kind of made it a point to not duplicate the services of any of our community partners. So they didn't see us as competition for resources. So we just filled the niches as they opened, and it's worked out fairly well. So
how would you say that you figured out where those gaps are? That's kind of the stage that we're at right now, is figuring out what else is going on in the.
What we did initially, we have a great executive director, and he's like, just do it, kind of thing. So I kind of looked at starting with the Workforce Investment Board, understanding how it worked in our community and who the partners were that were part of that board, and then made appointments with each of them, like with key staff. You know, just a lowly like librarian, I didn't talk to the executive directors necessarily, but just the other worker bees like me, and said, you know, what's going on with you guys? What are your pain points? What do you need help? What isn't working? What's working? And then that's how we kind of identified where we could make a difference. For example, we had one organization called the Life Learning Center that really needed books. So we ended up just taking books that we weeded out of our collection and providing them to them as a drop-off collection there. That was like one thing we did there. We had another organization that served seniors who were low on skills but needed to work. So they were able to send their seniors to our digital skills classes, but we then printed them out certificates that showed they completed the programs, and then they turned them back then and got credit through their program. So we did a lot of things like that over time. So now we're kind of in our own niche, and we're now competing for WIB resources. So, but it just takes time. It's like you have to build relationships and just get to know people. And it's really all about the relationship. It's the people in your community that makes things work. And like we've tried to break down a lot of barriers. So like in all of our classes with our instructors, I try to make an effort over time to always be responsible for the content of our classes. And like, we make it a point to base our classes on books, really good books. We tie everything into books. You know, it's almost kind of comical sometimes, but we do that. But then we try to make our instructor base as diverse as possible. And we do different things to do that. Like we have some instructors that Zoom in, and we do some of the classes on Zoom. We have others that come so that, you know, people are comfortable with different audiences. It's worked really well to break down barriers in the community. So it works good.
Well, that's encouraging, Natalie.
No, yeah, you'll be fine. I always say if people in our job search support group that we have here on Wednesdays, and that is predominantly for professionals in transition or people that want to change careers. We get all kinds of people who attend. And I always say, if you just came to this and you didn't watch the news or listen to the radio or anything, you'd think the world was a great place because everybody works together. They have the commonality of having lost their job and they're dealing with like an angry spouse or a girlfriend that doesn't understand and all this, and then they make friends and it's good. So, and it's kind of unique is that our library is located right on the state border. So we get people from Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana. So makes it a little different. But, cool. Good. And Hillary put our website in the chat. So there's lots of information out there that other people can use so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And also, you know, in working with the databases, we're all about, you know, driving people into our buildings. So we do things to kind of get people to come in. So yes, there's some ways we use the databases and people can work on them one-on-one for home. But a lot of the classes, we're doing more of our classes in person, especially the digital literacy ones, to get those people to come into the building. And I've put signs up sometimes like of me and some of my staff, and we'll say, we'll do a book display and we'll say, please help us keep our jobs, check things out, you know, and we've kind of make a joke out of it. So we'll do things like that. And we always say, you got to have a library card to work with us. We do those kinds of things too. Okay. Thanks. Hillary is our fearless leader in Kentucky, though.
And Brandey, there was a question in chat about describing the consumer technology position and what that entails.
Those are not actually career services positions specifically. They were teaching the digital skills classes in person at all the branches. There are 3 or 4 of them. Our system is geographically spread out, so they're kind of spread out by region, but they basically have transitioned into making videos since everything went digital. So they make little videos of how to do micro tasks in Microsoft Office products, things like that. But they don't have a whole lot of customer interaction. If I were the library director, they would, but I'm not. So.
Have you picked up your interlibrary loan? Have you picked up your interlibrary loan? You've
I
already
had
picked
a
it up?
question and now it just went out of my head.
You've already checked it out.
Sorry. Any other questions or comments?
This has been really great.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it so much.
Yes, thank you. It's been really, really interesting.
Yes. All right. So this has been recorded. Oh, I remembered, but it wasn't directly related to a question to this. This is more of a administrative end of LibsWork. We usually skip our July and August meetings just because people are traveling. But if there is interest, then maybe we could do something. So if you're listening here or you're listening to the recording, just send me an email or let me know if you're really interested in meeting over the summer and the time still works. But I guess I'd like to know, based on this conversation and some of the interests, if we have any ideas of people to invite for this fall or any topics that we want to cover.
Andrea, the only thing I was going to talk about jobscan.co as a resource that people could use that's fairly inexpensive at some point.
All right. Did we decide on doing that in September?
Not necessarily. If there's other things that people would rather hear more about, I could do that
Anybody
anytime.
uses North Star and how that's working out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there is also, is Arlene still here? I think so. There is a North Star user group. So that could be another week. I mean, we could always talk about North Star here, but we could also refer people to that as well. They meet the first Thursday of every month, I think, at 4 Eastern. So I'll let Arlene know that there is interest in that. And anyone going to ALA? I haven't taken a look to see if there's any workforce development or job seeker programs, but if there's anything to stay tuned for or to make sure to visit, let me know.
I'm unfortunately going to miss it this time around. July is looking to be a hellscape in many ways at our state library. So.
Yeah, you have to plan stuff so far in advance. So it's like the timing isn't good as it gets closer, but I already made the reservations and everything. So. All right. Yep. September 13th at 2 p.m. will be our next meeting. So if anyone has anything that they'd like to present or topics, then you can reach out to me. Otherwise, I will figure something out for September, or it'll be JobScan. Yeah, this is the awkward part of the meeting. Anything else?
Not for me. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Brandey.
Bye.
Everybody have a great summer.
Yes, have a great summer. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you soon.